Hello, friends, it's me, Steps Basic. Welcome to the book report for both Alice in Wonderland novels by Lewis Carroll. Remember that this will contain spoilers for both Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. If you haven't read either and want to, then follow the links below and listen to my reading of them. You know, if you want to. Anyway, I thought about it, and I don't think I'm going to follow my usual formatting for the book report. Usually I'll sum up the setting, the characters, and the themes of the book, but I think that would be a disservice to these works of literary genius. Instead, let's just talk about them. A little bit, you know. So, many of us have, in some way, an attachment to Alice and her adventures in Wonderland, whether it be through the movie put out by Disney or the books or some other connection entirely. These stories have in some way touched us all. And why not? I think Alice is in a lot of ways us. She is humanity, or at least she is childhood. Her adventures are presented by Carroll as a dream, but I mostly saw them as the imagination of a little girl. When I read these to my daughters so many years ago, I felt transported back to my own childhood, my own imagination, and it felt so strengthened by just the adventures here. And these random events, you know, the white rabbit and the potions and the food appearing as needed, it felt just as disjointed as when I would make up a game as a kid, and then just add rules to it as needed. Oh, I can shrink to go in the door. Oh, but now I'm too small. I'll need to grow. The food on the table does that. Oh, you didn't grab the food? Ha! Nerd. Anyway, I imagine our friend Alice was much like me in so many ways. A lonely child. Her imagination was that friend that she needed. Sure, she had her big sister and the servants of the house, but the way she often talked to herself, taking both sides of an argument, or just chastising any wrongdoing that she did, it leads me to remember the way I used to do stuff like that. And in other ways, you know, she would personify the animals, the plants, chess pieces, cards, basically anything with a semblance of life in it, she would give new life to, you know, through her own eyes, through her own imagination, through her own je ne sais quoi, which is French for I don't know what. But much the same way that she did that, I would conjure tales of heroism and adventure. People I knew, even people that I just barely knew, tangentially was aware of, but just barely knew them, would become superheroes, knights, and soldiers. In my mind, I saw the world as I needed to. I saw my life as meaningful. Funny little story, talking about this. I had a group of friends as a kid. Sean, Chris, Ren. These three kids were my friends at the time. And I remember I made up an entire world with these three kids in it. And these three kids and myself, we were heroes. But we were like alien heroes. We were gifted powers by this large alien creature. I didn't form this idea. I didn't form this. I didn't form this world until after one of my friends, Sean in particular, decided that he wanted to dump me. He wanted to break up with me. We weren't going to be friends anymore, you know. And I remember him and Chris and Ren there, and they're like, "Oh, we don't like you anymore. You're not cool. We don't want you to hang out with us." And I'm sitting there. I just have this little army soldier character. I'm drawing in the sand with it while they're insulting me and making fun of me, and it hurt a lot. Shut up, phone. And it hurt a lot. But after that, I created this fun fantasy world that all four of us still lived in, and we still had a fun time. And we were, you know, saving the world, so to speak. Hey, girlfriend in that one, too. It was great. But I ended up going off, and I ended up moving away and going off to, from Wilcox to Douglas. So, you know, I left them behind and had to move on to bigger and better things. Anyway, blah, blah, blah. But I still had them in my mind. They were still my friends, and we had an adventure and all that mattered. And that's sort of thing that I saw, you know, kind of reflected back at me while reading these books. I was remembering that. Anyway, I made myself sad. It's fine. Anyway, so it's hard to pick a favorite part of the books, right? really hard. Um, I would say of the two, Alice's Adventures in Wonderland was my favorite, but that's not a slight to Through the Looking Glass. They both had fun and fantasy and whimsy, and they had it in spades. I just found that the former was easier to follow. There were a couple of scenes in Through the Looking Glass where I had to stop and go back and make sure I didn't skip a page. That train scene in particular flummoxed me. You know, when she just takes off running, but then all of a sudden we're on the train taking tickets and they're all blah blah blah. It's like, what the heck happened? I went back and I'm like, wait, no, I didn't skip a page. This literally just happened. And to be honest, that whole scene just kind of annoyed me because it had the repeating characters and whatnot, and then the little gnat who's just buzzing around her head all the whole time. Anyway, it wasn't a bad scene. It just wasn't really. I just didn't like it particularly. So, you know, I didn't have a scene like that in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. So that kind of puts Through the Looking Glass just a little bit lower than that one for me. That being said, I think I would have to pick the scene in the forest with no names as my favorite scene. There was an unexpected depth to that scene. One I was just not expecting. Well, obviously, if it's unexpected, then I didn't expect it. But, you know, it was an unexpected depth. One, I'm just sitting here reading along, and then we have this really short, sweet scene, and bam, I'm like, wow, that was deep. And funny enough, I had a short conversation with a commenter about this scene in regards to how it was, how it just came out of nowhere like that. And anyway, to sum up the scene, Alice enters a wood that has no name, and nothing within it has a name. Alice enters a wood that has no name, and nothing within it has a name. So as such, Alice loses her name when she enters it. And as such, she meets a fawn, a little deer, who also doesn't remember who it is. And so between the two of them, they don't know what the heck's going on. They don't remember anything. They don't know who each other are. And they're like, hey. And the deer's like, hey, I know where to go to find your memory, to figure out who you are. And so the deer leads her to the end of the square. Once they leave it, they remember who they are. And the fawn dances around, happy to be remembered, but then realizes that Alice is human and is like, oh my God, and then, gone. And, well, that in and of itself is the depth that I'm talking about. But I pose the question of whether this scene was best being a really short, bite-sized scene, or if it should have been longer. And the commenter believes that it should have been longer, and I am inclined to agree, even though I believe that if it was too long, if it would have overstayed its welcome, it could have become disastrous, painful. But the commenter was talking about how it would have been better to show the kinship, show the friendship growing between the two, just to have it abruptly cut short once they realize who they are. And honestly, I agree with that. I really do. I mean, the commenter was talking about how, you know, well, I'll put up the comment for you. And honestly, this situation shows a few things, like how people can be friends, family, lovers even, only to discover that by societal standards, they aren't meant to be, should never be. And in fact, there should be a degree of animosity between them. This puts children's ability to be friends on display in the finest way possible. To children, they only see the person directly in front of them. They say, you know, hey, you're cool. You want to be friends? Heck yeah, let's be friends. And the sad fact is that we are born that pure, that fun and happy, only to grow up and see well, to be frank, to see the crap that the world puts on us, insists we need to feel. And that's truly troubling. Society, in providing us the safety of numbers, the safety of security, has distanced us from our roots, made us more isolated, and in my opinion, more unsafe, especially in this modern era. Go figure. We're human. We need the love, the whimsy, the friends. We don't need the baggage. Anyway, sorry I got a little darker there. Alice in Wonderland is a fantastic story. One that will defy the ages and keep in our hearts the childish innocence we need, provided we keep it alive. And yes, we should temper that innocence, our childish innocence, with the wisdom of age. But we need to stop letting it disappear, especially in children. They need to stay kids as long as they can. Seriously. Adultification really sucks. Anyway, I easily rate these books a 10 out of 10. And I know a lot of people are going to be grumpy. They're going to be like, what, you're saying these are perfect books? I'm like, yes, they are perfect books. They are an easy read, they're a powerful message, and they're a fun adventure. Truly a perfect set. And yeah, you can make some nitpicks about things, like I didn't like the train scene. But all of it just works together to make exactly what, in my opinion, we as a society need to remember, we need to lock back in on. We need the whimsy, the fun, the family, the just adventure. Not what we have now. Anyway, thank you all for listening, and hopefully you get a chance to just go out and enjoy your life. Find that love you're missing, even if it's just the love for yourself. Apart from all that, thank you all so much for joining me for this series. The book, the chapters, everything. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave any feedback you have about it. Tell me your favorite part. And yeah, tune in next time as we begin the tale of Sherlock Holmes. We have the complete works, so it'll be great. But yeah, anyway, apart from all that, good night.